Hour of Empower. If it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're here every day, 7 days of the week. I had a beautiful show yesterday with the keyword being rise up, and had a wonderful attendance. And it's so good that you really can build a second family of choice in the present tense. So with that, we depend on you for direction as far as what's relevant to you. So commenting is key, and we're here for you, and that's what it's all about. So with that, I'm so honored again to invite an old friend, Gretchen Skelka, to the show. And she is doing amazing things, not only on LinkedIn, but in life, and the way she brings herself to life every day. So with that, I'll turn it over to Gretchen. Can kind of give you an update on where she's been and what she's looking forward to.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So I have been trying to get everything ready. Like I was telling you before the show, I am going to be spending a week with my dad, with my family next week. So that's really important time for me. And so I try to plan way ahead so that I can be 100% fully present and just hang out with him. So that's what I'm working on the last week or so, is getting all my ducks in a row, all my clients set so they know where I am if they need me and what's going on, and just make sure there's continuity of everything, that I'm there for everybody even if I'm not there for everybody. So that's a little bit of that, but yeah, that's been my focus the last week or so, is just making sure that I'm taking care of everybody while I go and recharge my batteries with my dad.
Well, that's so cool because it really speaks to the topic today, which is sharing.
Yeah.
And, being able to share with others knowledge, experience, support.
Yep.
And what we're learning, and I know for sure, is giving is getting in itself, and then everything comes back to you in good time. And the key word is good time, not your time or any time. And you just gotta not worry about it. That's why if you're already paid off at the point of delivery of your value, anything beyond that is dividends, but you're also learning, you're also practicing, you're also building success through others. So not everything needs to be a monetary gain. It really should be a discovery, that you can then pass on to more people, because the resources are all within ourselves. And there's no limit to it. So there's enough for everybody, and especially if everybody helps each other get to where they're going. What's your thoughts, Gretchen? Oh, we've got some great people. Gotta recognize Linda. Linda is such a great lady here almost every day. She brings so much experience and wisdom, and her intent is always for the good. So a new day and week to enjoy with our community. And that's so true. How many times can you pick a time where you can see 30, 40 friends, and see where they are every day? It's such a good use of your time to get so much more knowledge share in such a short period of time. Dean's here with his potato. Morning, guys. Always good to have Dean. Dean brings, just a special warmth to the show. Maybe because baked potatoes kind of make you feel like it's warm. Hello, Gretchen, down listen only mode today. Mike's been here almost every day. I see Amjess has been joining almost every day from India. Kim, who is coming on the show actually, and I was so impressed with Kim. We had just a wonderful call for an hour, laughed a lot, learned a lot, and that's what you should choose to take away, is how much joy, how much laughter, how much knowledge, and how much really support is out there for you. And, sometimes if you had small calls more frequently about little things, you may not have to have those long calls about long problems, when you have to, right? What's your thoughts? Because you've gone through all kinds of opportunities for positive change.
Oh, yeah. That's a lovely way of putting it. Yes, I definitely have. I think it's not only is there great support out there for everybody, but everybody can be a support for somebody else. That's really important. I mean, it's interesting to say that, like, at some of the weirdest, worst times, like I can remember when my husband was after his heart surgery, and he didn't wake up for 6 days, and like that third day was like the worst. You just don't know what's going to happen. How much longer is this going to go on? Is there an end to this? And I don't know why I thought to do it, but I thought I want to send all the nurses in cardiac ICU flowers, because watching what they do for just that couple of days, and also because they were really kind to me. Like, they set up a desk in the ICU room where my husband was. And if you've ever been in cardiac ICU, you know those rooms are really small. Plus, he was on a ventilator, and he had two of the big IV stands next to him with all the things going in, because he had two different IVs, one in each arm. And there wasn't a lot of room to even move around in that room. But they set one up for me right next to him. And so I just thought I really wanted to give something to them for being so amazing to me. And they didn't have to do that, because there was a floor full of people in the same situation. And it made me like really think about where you are and what you're doing, and that other people draw their energy from or away from you. And so when you give that, you absolutely get that in return. And I'll go back to something that you said before, which was, when you're just do the thing, give whatever it is, without thought of remuneration or compensation or any of that. And I go back to when I was still a marketing director, and I was in charge of my team in the department that I built at the last company I worked for. And one of the things that I used to make sure that I wanted to be able to express to them was, don't worry about doing what you're doing with the thought that I'm going to get something. I'm going to get a raise. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. Because if you're doing it for that reason, you're actually not doing the job to the fullest. You're really not, because that's not really the goal. It's not. Paying your bills is one thing. Most people get a job for that, but there's also something else there that speaks to you as a person, the contribution you want to make, right? The support you want to give to the company, to your colleagues, to whoever. If you come at it from that perspective, and just, put yourself into it and do what you can do, challenge yourself, learn, grow, stretch, whatever you need to do, all the other stuff will follow. Now, the challenge for a lot of people when I say that is they're going to look for that thing to follow at a certain time or a certain place, or, in a certain way, instead of just being open to that thing, that compensation, that success coming to you as it's going to. And it does. I think that's the challenge that a lot of us face. I am too, is, we want things on a certain schedule. We want to know there's a certain guarantee to things. And in the absence of that, instead of saying, okay, well, I can guarantee it's going to happen. If I can't guarantee when it's going to happen, now I have a question about if it's going to happen, instead of just understanding that it's going to happen, and take the when out of it. There's no if you take the when out of it, and you just go about, and you don't have to worry about that. It takes that weight, that drag off of it. You just get to be free to do it and see what happens, and I invite people to do that, to see what happens. Some people do, some people don't. Some people jump off the track because they're like, nope, I need a guarantee. I need that schedule, It's like, okay, I get that. But there is real happiness, joy, and everything on the other side of that. And I think that's something else, that people can be that support in that way for other people as well.
Yeah, I think that's is something that people should take to heart, because here's another way of looking at things, and that's really what we're talking about, is perspective. Things are what they are. Some people look at it half full, some people look at it half empty, some people don't even look at it, and I think what's so valuable is one has to always go back to oneself with responsibility and accountability, and say, am I really worth it for people to want me right now, to pay for me what I have? Because here's the thing, if you haven't proved it, how can you be so sure that someone needs it, that you can deliver on what they need without having some examples? Why wouldn't you want to test? And that's why when people say, well, I don't feel like giving things away for free, well, maybe that's all it's worth right now. You know what I mean? And I would do anything for anybody,
Mm-hmm.
for anything, if I couldn't do anything for anybody else for anything. Because that's what giving is you hope someone has more value than what you're getting back, right? What's
Yeah.
your thoughts, Gretchen?
Yeah, I mean, two things on that. When and this is a phrase that I'm sure a lot of people have heard before, but seeing the glass half empty or half full is missing the point. The salient point of that is that the glass is refillable, right? And I
Mhm.
said this like last week, and it's like it's refillable. So when you're talking about giving things away for free, I do that. A lot of people I know. I mean, I'm a small business owner. I own my own business. I do career strategy for women at career crossroads. I basically, work with them through my perspective, personal leadership strategy to make those hard choices, those hard decisions, but to do it with ease and confidence and flow. And that confidence is really important. So when I give things away, that's a support thing, but it's also because you want people to have the benefit of that feeling of helping them grow their confidence. Otherwise, to your point, why would they know that you can support them? But the other thing with that is that is something that if you tap it, just tap it, and it draws that out in the other person, there's so much more to
Mhm.
get for them to be able to draw upon and pull out of themselves and just marvel at everything they have and that they can do, that maybe nobody like put the light on that and said, here's a little something for you. Here's a goals worksheet. Here's a RAM thinking workbook. And of course, everything I do is I root in mental fitness and RAM thinking. And you draw a little bit of that out and it's like light bulb, like, wow, I could do all this. Like, this is all stuff that I'm capable of. And I think that's another thing is when you're giving things away. I mean, people can look at it like giving away for free. And I know we use that word in when you're providing a service to somebody, because it's something you want people to understand. Like, this is just something I want you to have,
Mhm.
you know but the other thing too is that people tend to see like that as one of two ways. It's not worth anything because I have to give it away for free, or it's worth so much that you just can't believe. And again, the value is all on you. It's
Mhm.
what you perceive it to be. And again, it goes right back to that glass being refillable. Half full, half empty is one of those kind of dangerous things, because we forget the middle ground. And in the middle ground is where, that's where all possibility is in the middle ground.
Yeah, and it's all so dynamic because everybody is in a different situation, needing a different answer
Yeah.
than other people. And in some ways, LinkedIn is counterintuitive because in physical world, it's getting things done. It's
Hmm.
compressing time. It's getting more return on investment.
Hmm.
If one would to slow things down with the right people to get to know each other,
Hmm.
they get to understand each other. Then, when you finally present something, it's already with knowledge of the other person versus one size fits all, or I can do anything I need to do anytime I need to do it. So don't worry about it. And that's kind of like that's a red flag right there. And the thing is in this day of insulation, isolation, all this stuff, people have a need to be even closer to somebody else,
Hmm.
where a coach has to be a friend in a way, or a friendly coach, right?
Hmm.
Somebody that brings a good spirit, a good attitude, maybe some laughter. When people can laugh at something, that the sting really comes out of it. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
what do you think, Gretchen?
Yeah, I mean, for in that perspective, whether you're, when you're engaged with a coach or anybody else, it's a personal relationship that you have with that person. And so, and the whole point of that relationship is to bring out the best, something good, reaching a goal, doing something to stretch, to achieve, to get, right? To receive whatever it is. And so that's very different, subjective and personal for everybody. But it's still a relationship that matters. And so I could be firm about things, but I also want to be sure that people understand that, you know, there's no this sort of perception of finality, right? I'll use, career. Like, I remember in 2004 when the company, I worked for a startup and we were running out of money. We needed to get bought, and we did. We got bought, and yay, that was great. And then the company that bought us was like, "Yay, we love the product. We don't need the people. Bye." And we got laid off. So I thought there was a finality there. There was like, it's like this thud, like, now what do I do? And it took me a few days to realize that I wasn't so sad about not having that job, right?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do? What am I going to do? That certainly was there. Bills, bills, money, money. But I was really sad about not having that habit of seeing those people and doing that work with them and building new things and learning new things. Like, that experience was what I was mourning. How was I going to find that, recreate that, get that again? And I think that in the panic that a lot of people have when a circumstance in life changes, whether it's a job change, desired or not, right? Even if you want it, it can still be scary.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's a relationship change or something else. We tend to go to a safety, like Maslow's hierarchy, the bottom, the safety and security part first, because that's where we're going to root to. But then in addition to that, it's all of that possibility. But because safety and security might be in question, we don't see it. And that also is one of the things that I want to be able to provide to people, is that understanding of opportunity. Like, you just don't know where that opportunity is going to be. And we tend to have these sort of linear views of our career, our path, our lives, and this, that, and the other, like, this sort of schedule, on which we have to build these things. And it needs to look and sound and go a certain way to a certain flow, but it doesn't. And so when we can stop looking at it that way, which is scary on its own, but when we can stop, you sort of see down this path, you notice doors that you didn't see before with little knobs that you can turn and open and see new things and try new things and be exposed to new things. And that's really exciting. It's also scary, but in a challenging, scary kind of way, like good scary, And I think that's also something that's really important for people to be able to share with each other, is that knowledge of, I did something different, or I did something great, or I did something, and I want to share that experience with you because it means something to me. There was a time where I think people were like, "Oh, that's so selfish. Why do you think anybody cares about your story?" Trust me, people care about your story. You are a unique individual. No, but again, I've said this before, but no two people on the planet have the same fingerprint. We are unique individuals. I can literally I can be sitting in the same spot, the same restaurant, movie theater, it doesn't matter, office, wherever, as the person next to me. We can have the exact same meeting. We will take different things away from it. That matters. Your experience matters. What you have to learn and grow and share from it or question about it matters. That's another reason why sharing is so important for everybody to do.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's what you share, how you share it, and how it's received and responded back to you, because everybody needs feedback.
Yeah.
They say failure is only feedback, because you're supposed to learn from every exercise or every adventure you go on. And if it is an adventure, there are going to be scarier times, there's going to be happier times, but that's what makes it an adventure.
Yep.
If it was a known thing, you wouldn't be having to worry, but you won't have a lot of hope for any change. And I think Gretchen's right, is there's so many little things you can change if you can't change a big thing. Yeah. Right? It's a phone call you just make today until tomorrow. Because I was just thinking about it. when you have something to do and you say, I'll do it tomorrow, tomorrow never will come, you know, or you just borrowed on tomorrow to take care of something you could have done right now and got out of the way and had something new to focus on tomorrow. And it's really constant, consistent change that wins the day. It's little things done right over time that are easy to do, that are comfortable for you to do. You know, it's like, how fast can you move? Well, how fast do you want to move, right? And how fast are you under a time frame? Because anything done over time is better than nothing done sporadically, you know, or burst of activity. Because part of trust and sharing is people believe you. Go ahead, Gretchen.
Yes. I think that's so important because, you know, I don't think there's anybody past the age of maybe 9, right? Maybe before that, some people do it, but where you don't have that moment where you're like, oh, if I had just, oh man, where would I be if I had started reading that book 2 weeks ago, or if I had started on my homework yesterday, or if I had started, you know, working on my garden when I wanted to, or if I'd started my YouTube channel a year ago, or if I'd started practicing with LinkedIn Live, you know, a month ago. Where would I, wow, imagine how great I would be. And what happens is we'll do that. Oh, terrible. And we'll beat ourselves up about it. And it's terrible. And oh, you should have, would have, could have. No, instead do a reframe. You know what? That's so cool. Let's see where I'll be in a month from now, because I'm going to start it now. Let's see where I'm going to be tomorrow if I get started on that homework, that book, that weight loss plan, that exercise plan, that, you know, garden, whatever it is. That's so cool. Wow, where would I have been? You know what? Let me start and let's see. Let me put something on the calendar for a week, a month, a year, whatever it is from now. And let me see. Let me see. And then I can do that comparison, because I guarantee I already know the first one. Nothing happened because I didn't do anything. And that's okay. That's that sort of non-judgmental retrospective that we have to be able to bring to things. But it's hard for people because we're sort of, you know, societally and in some ways we grow up thinking that if failure is bad, shame, terrible, blah, 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 except that you have to go through that to learn anything. Again, I've said this so many times. No one came into the world knowing how to eat, walk, what these things are for. No, we didn't know that. We had to learn all of that. Who took their first step and just started running? Nobody. We fell. We got back up, right? We tried to use these and we had food all down our face. Guess what? Mom or somebody or we cleaned it up and we tried again and again and again and again. Failure is part of the success cycle. You can't have it without it. It has to be there. And so that non-judgmental perspective, when you bring it to it, don't wish for the thing that didn't already happen, you know, hope for, you know, and celebrate the thing that's going to happen and move from that perspective. And that's really important. And it's something that I think is really hard for people because we are sort of brought up to be. I mean, I remember this. And again, I'm going to see my dad next week, and he's please know, my dad is a wonderful guy, but he was a perfectionist when it came to us at school. And I remember I have a very good memory of this. Love you, Dad, but this happened where I brought home a test score and it was a 98. And I remember this vividly. And my mom was like, "That's great. That's an A. Yay." And my dad looked at it and then he looked at me and he said, really matter of factly, "So what happened to the other 2 points?" And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And that stuck with me, you know, and I was very much like like I was like, you know, that kid in school, like hand up, I'm going to do it. You know, I clept all my freshman requirements at Auburn. You know, I just blah, 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 right? School was my job. But again, I look back at that and I mean, it was on me. I made all my choices, but there were things that I didn't look at as like great opportunities that I should have, because I was so focused on the score or the achievement instead of the experience, you know, and again, I probably wouldn't have this perspective had I not gone through all the stuff that happened from 2014 to 2018 that just redefined my entire life. And, you know, I mean, just everything, including Steve's surgery and my mom and my niece and our house blowing up and all that stuff. I would not have this perspective, but I can tell you from having this perspective, this lived perspective, the experience is the teacher. It is everything. Don't deny yourself the experience. Don't put it off. Whatever the thing is you want to try, do it. If it doesn't work out right away, keep going, keep going. It's like I'm just said, experience comes with consistency. Success comes with experience, right? Do the thing, whatever it is, do the thing.
Yeah, I think that's so very important. And I think in addition to that, one really has to go inside and understand failure isn't final, for one thing.
No.
How you describe failure, they always say fail forward, right? So whatever you learn, use to build. And to your point, which I think is excellent, people who use the woulda, shoulda, coulda don't fully appreciate that everything that went through their life got them to the point they are today. And if
I,
you'd have changed, like, oh, if I'd have done this earlier, you would have done it under the wrong circumstances, maybe with the wrong people, had a great idea that failed because you weren't ready for it or it wasn't ready for you. And just assume, that's why people, when they go back, oh, my dad did this, my mom did this, my aunt did
yeah.
this. They did it. But so what?
But here, no, and
you-
Kim asks a really good question. Do you feel shame from failure causes one to become stuck in the experience versus gathering lessons from the experience? And I'll say yes, absolutely. Use the story of my dad isn't to say that he's the reason that I was so like type A in school. I was probably going to be type A anyway. I was probably already type A by the time he said that. But I took it to heart because that was what was important to me at the time, not because of what he said, but that was what was important to me at the time, was the outcome, not the experience. And I was young. I was in like middle school or high school. I remember the conversation, but I vaguely remember how old I was. That was what was important to me at the time, was the outcome. With age comes experience. And, I don't shy away from telling people my age. I'm 53 years old. And with my experience and my age, I know that the outcome is going to be there anyway. But the experience is the important part. Everybody, we know the cliche, the little a motivational thing that you can get, for your office or your house or wherever, on a sticky note and a bumper sticker that says, enjoy the ride. It's all about the ride, the ... and all that kind of stuff. And I don't mean to gloss over it, because that's absolutely true. Like, it's cliche and we think it's just a motivational poster, but it's absolutely true. And, again, when you get mired in the what you perceive to be failure, when it's just an experience. And I'll go back to, I think we talked about this last time, where everybody knows Edison and the light bulb, and he tried it out 10,000 times and he failed and all that. And I, don't want to gloss over that, but everybody knows that story. I think everybody knows the Colonel Sanders story. I talked about it last week, where, he was already retired and didn't have enough money to live on, didn't know what he was going to do, but he had this like recipe that people thought was good for chicken. And he went around trying to sell it, and he got turned down everywhere. But finally, one guy who had a restaurant was like, yeah, I'll try your recipe. And now we know who Colonel Sanders, like KFC, everybody knows. He's in every corner of the globe. So those things. And of course, there are famous examples everywhere, but there's also the example of you. How many times have we tried something and it didn't work out and it didn't work out? And then finally we did it. And we're like, holy crap, I did that. That's awesome. Whether it was learning how to dive or swim or make a certain meal or train your dog to sit or whatever it was, curl your hair. I mean, I found that hard. Doing makeup. I don't wear face makeup, but I wear it on my eyes. My little sister had to show me how to do that. Text messaging. My little sister taught me how to do that years ago, obviously. But, I didn't learn those things on my own. And I tried and it didn't work out and I couldn't figure out why. So what did I do? I sought out people who could help me. That's what we do. That's that sharing that this show is about. Share your knowledge, share your experience. There's somebody out there who needs to hear it, who's going to be able to benefit from that. And then they will take it and share it with somebody else. That's the ripple. That can move mountains. It can change things. It really, really can. Share your experience. Share what you know.
Yeah, I think that's so key. And, one has to really believe that for things to change, they need to change. Right. And whatever that change is, it could be change of thought, it could be change of relationship, it could be change of action, but it's really just self-examination understanding what's serving you, what isn't, what investments are you making. And,
Yeah.
the key is, how do you diversify that not all your eggs are one basket? You can make change in other areas while you're waiting for change to happen in others. Or sometimes
Yeah.
you've just made a change and you need time to see how it's going to work. So you don't want to be keep, changing before it's finished on what you originally set.
Yeah.
And it's just really staying in balance yourself, staying healthy, because this is a marathon. This is so long term, and it's so easy to get burned out. It's so easy to get overwhelmed. And
Yeah.
if some people, there's a saying, careful what you wish for because you might get it. And what happens if you got way too much at a time you weren't able to support it, and you'd feel bad to turn things away or not be able to help people that you could. So, I think the slow, steady,
Hmm.
upward climb, and do it with friends, do it with neighbors, do it with family on LinkedIn, because you can get some really cool aunts and uncles and cousins here, that you chose to be, and relate to that. And it's amazing because I look around, I see how far Gretchen's come since our first LinkedIn Live, how far I've come and the show has since then. And that was only like 4 or 5 months ago. We're
I
not
know.
about when we met 20 years ago in some company and now we found a way to work together.
Yep.
And everybody brings their better self to the table every day for everybody else who's bringing their better self.
Yeah.
So when people go out and achieve success, have insights that they didn't have before, they have a pretty good idea. Some people don't have those either, but maybe it'll take them longer on their own versus sharing what I have. They say the
Yeah.
benefit of a coach is having someone do something they couldn't or wouldn't have done without you. It's not what we've talked about. It's not what you do. I tell people, whatever I do doesn't mean anything unless it translates, right?
Well, it's
Go ahead.
yeah. It's like, I think we talked about it too, but it's like I always kind of liken the benefit of working with a teacher, a coach, anybody is the implementation strategy, because again, I can Google, the information's out there. The information's out there. Unless I am devising a new product or a new theory or something like that, like if I'm an engineer, a scientist, whatever, a lot of information is out there. Information how to live, information of, how to speak the right, in the right, most constructive, positive way to get what you want, negotiation, all those things, they're out there. Diet, nutrition, it's out there. The human beings have existed for a long time. So a lot of what we need to know is out there. However, what's not out there for anybody I can't Google, the implementation is one thing, but I can Google like the best, food combinations for my age and body type and, exercise level and activity and all that kind of stuff. I could have all that knowledge. I could create the perfect plan. I have all the knowledge. I can read all the books. What I don't have is somebody who's going to lock arms with me and say, honey, together we're going to do this. And I'm going to check in with you every day. And we're going to make sure, you having a bad day? Did something happen? Let's figure that out. Let's look at it. And we do it together. That kind of sharing, that is very important. That's how I do it with every one of my clients. We absolutely lock arms. We do it together. We get where we're going together. And that's why. And when we get there, we're still together. It's very important. So the knowledge can be there, but the implementation is critical, because without it, there's nothing. There's no movement. There's desire, which is great. But if you're going to act on it, it's one of those, one of the reasons why a lot of, New Year's resolutions and other things and plans fail is that there's not two things: a recognition of small wins and support for those. So for example, if my goal is to lose 10 pounds by next month, and I get to next month and I'm like, well, I lost 3 pounds. Whoopee. I did everything wrong. Girl, I lost 3 pounds. I need to celebrate that. I did something right to lose 3 pounds. Now I want to examine that, blow it up, figure out how to incorporate more of that, do more of that. But I'm not a failure because I didn't lose 10 pounds. That's a goal. Goals can be modified. But if something is working, so a lot of times what happens is people push past or sail through a micro win and they don't recognize it. And by recognizing it, you build your confidence. You increase your motivation to keep going because you've acknowledged that you're doing the thing. Keep going. Little tweaks, little modifications, and you keep going. And if you're not sure, that's another reason why an accountability partner, somebody else, is great to go, I'm sorry, how are we going to celebrate those 3 pounds? How are we going to celebrate that first pound? Oh, well, it's only a pound. Yeah. How are we going to celebrate it? What are we going to do? We're gonna like go and put things on our Amazon wish list for when we hit another one. We're gonna buy a calendar on our Amazon. We're gonna do something. We're gonna buy something to celebrate so we can make note of that. Am I gonna maybe get a brand new notebook to write down my daily goals? What am I gonna do to celebrate it? Celebrate it. You're allowed to do that. That's part of your process. It also helps keep your motivation going, builds your confidence to keep going and hit that goal. That's another reason why sharing is important. Everybody struggles. Everybody struggles, you know, and it's what they do to get through it that might help somebody else, you know. I mean, one of the best things anybody ever did for me, and I've been the beneficiary of a lot of people doing a lot of great things for me. But that third day that Steve was in the hospital and I got home and I'm home, once again, I'm coming through the door of my house alone. He's not there. I have no idea when he's going to wake up, be home, anything. And, your mind begins to create scenarios, which is not a good thing to do. And I got a call from my friend Sharon Forbes, and she was like, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? And I was like, and I was crying. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she just very calmly just talked me through, like, tell me about your day. What was he like? Did you talk to him? Did you play music to him? And she calmed me down, and she told me about, a situation in her life that was really hard. And that was very helpful for me because that calming kind of thing, that was a strategy she taught me. Wasn't even telling me she was doing it, and she was doing it. By sharing her experience, she was giving me a strategy. And in hindsight, I figured it out. I didn't get it in the moment. I was just so grateful to not be blabbering and upset. But in hindsight, I figured it out what she had done. And I don't even know if she intended to do it. But that's another reason why sharing is important. Share your time, share yourself, share your experience, share your a moment with somebody. You'll be amazed at what you can create from that.
Yeah, and I think one has to, if one can bully themselves, they can always support themselves. And
Yes.
why mix things up? I agree. If I want to lose 10 pounds and I lost 10 pounds, I'm still good. And if I didn't lose any pounds, I'm still a good person. So mixing the two up, saying that if I don't do this is now a reflection on me versus, hey, I'm trying to do better for myself by trying and learning. Because the idea isn't how much did you gain or lose.
Yeah.
It's what
Yeah.
did you learn that will take you forward. And that's more important than losing 4 pounds and the next week putting it back on. Right.
Right. And the challenge for that is, we live in a world where everything seems to be attached to a time frame. We have the 40 under 40 list, and we have the 5 ways to, maximize your, hair growth, or, 10x your salary in 2 months, or whatever it is. And, everything seems to be attached to a time frame, but your life isn't. Your life it's an unfolding, ever evolving thing, and it's kind of exciting and it's scary, but it's the only one you got. So make the most of it. And that, again, sounds really trite and kind of cliche, but the thing is that you do have that power. And if you're not sure how to do it, share that question, share that need. That's another part of sharing that we don't think about. We think about it as just the giving part of sharing, what I have, I want to give, my experience, all that. Share your need, not in terms of being needy, but share that I want to learn how to do that. There are people that I know who are just really good at stuff that I want to be good at. And I love the people who are like, girl, come on in. Let me show you how I did this. Let me show you. Let's just sit down for a little bit and let's go through it. I love that. It's another reason why I do that with people. If I see somebody who has a post who's struggling, it's like, I've done all the things, I've applied to 1,000 jobs, I just don't know what to do. And again, this is coming from my perspective as the kind of career strategy that I do not do resumes. I don't do any of that. But what I do, although I have a LinkedIn profile optimizer, but still, what I do is I work with people who are having an inability to make a choice, to make a decision, to proceed. They don't know where to start, and we begin to unravel that problem. So with that, what I like to do is I'll just say, okay, like I sent a series of like the voice notes that you can do on LinkedIn DM to somebody who said, I just don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm doing everything wrong, but I thought I was doing everything right, and I don't know. And so I just, sent her some DMs. I said, I don't know what your resume looks like, but let me go through your LinkedIn profile with you. Just listen to these. I'll send you 5 little voice notes, and let me just walk you through some opportunities that you have. And I started with the URL, and I just worked my way down from there. And I told her, I said, I have a free thing that you can download that will take you through an entire checklist of how to do this for yourself. But the other piece is getting, being out there. We like to call it networking, but I call it relationship building. It's just finding people that you vibe with and wanting to know more about them and having them know more about you. That's really important. But again, raise that hand. If you have a need, you want to learn something. I do it all the time. It is so rewarding. And there's so much that I've learned from that. I just think it's incredible. Even books that people are like, oh, have you read this? Have you read that? And I'm like, it's on my Audible list. It's on my Audible list. My Audible list is like so long. But I love that because everybody has something really cool to share. They do, even if they don't think they do. They absolutely do. And I want to know all about it.
Well, I think also when you look at sharing, again, it's the definition that you use. Sharing is a two-way street, right? It's not just giving, because when, like Gretchen said, with her friend calling her up, she was sharing, but she was also receiving. And then by receiving, she was sharing some more. So I think the basis is making that initial connection, that strong connection. When you have a Zoom call, that's really to say, are we going to nail something down or decide it's not a good fit right now, right? And if we're going to nail some down, how do we build together, right? I mean, if you're a builder, and in actuality, whether you call somebody a client, a colleague, or you become a customer, it's still going to be, do you want to spend parts of your life with this person?
Yep.
Are you happier when you're with them, even when nothing's said? And then what do you bring to the table? And it's not, and there are people who are very transactional, very good at their transactions. And there's people who prefer transactions. But there's a great many people whose issues aren't just factual or knowledge-based. They need emotional support. They need confidence. They need hope. A lot of times they have more than enough ability. They're more than capable. And anything you do that we're talking about isn't hard to do. Being polite, being respectful, listening, being empathetic is so important. It's really learning the intangibles, and eventually, and I think it's moving, as technology is not as strong as relationship building now, right?
Yeah.
There's enough technology. There's plenty of apps, and they're so cheap, and there's people who can tell you. And one thing about technology, usually when you install it, it lasts for a while.
Yeah.
With relationships, like Gretchen said, you got to nourish them. It's like plants. You got to fortify them. You got to be there for them. If you're really there for yourself, you need to be there for other people, because ultimately, after the check cashes, it's going to be the gratification that came out of seeing somebody rise above where they would have never been able to do. And it was all within them, not because of you. And if you can share that, you're getting wins on wins on wins, and those people will want more. Go ahead.
And I'll just say this. So, Mike, I know I see your comment and your question there, and I know that there's not enough time really in the show to get into this, but I did. If you saw me look down, I was just looking on my computer to go to your LinkedIn profile, and I'll send you a voice note after this. But one of the things that I'm seeing in your comment is my issue as a former executive, now entrepreneur and small business owner, is that those hiring will not value me anywhere near half what my last OTE was. Any suggestions? So with that one sentence, what I'm seeing is those hiring will not value me. That's an absolute statement. Be really careful with absolutes, because what that does is it pushes out everything. It's those hiring will not. How do you know? You haven't contacted all of them, but I will say this, and I say this with absolute respect and love for you. Your profile makes you invisible. I'm going to send you a voice note about your LinkedIn profile. You are invisible. And I'll go through why that is with you. But that's one part, but also the networking, but also this phrase right here, will not value me. Be careful with that, because you might be telegraphing that also when you're doing your outreach. If you have a belief that people aren't valuing you, you're going to telegraph that in some way that you expect that also in return. So be careful with that. Really think about how your outreach is, how your communication style is, what it is that your goal is, and how you want to partner with people to do that. Partnering with everybody, a potential employer or just a new connection or somebody else, that's where all the opportunity is, because you don't know. So again, it might just be a slight reframe to understand that those hiring, maybe so far, maybe the ones you've reached out to, which are a fraction of everybody out there, maybe they haven't seen the value yet in you. So let's not talk about them not valuing you, because that's probably not true. They probably just haven't seen it yet. So now it's a matter of figuring out how to show it to them. And you can do certain things with that with your profile, which I'm happy to work through with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what it really speaks to is until you actually have a chance to be seen, heard, and have possibly a call,
Mhm.
everything is very superficial.
Yeah.
So all the judgments are based on very little, and you only have so much you can provide that people are going to see anyways.
Yeah.
And my sense is if you come always with your hand up, there really aren't a lot of hands down, to be honest with you, until they decide it's worth it for them. But here's the key is meet somebody where they are as a peer. And LinkedIn gives you that opportunity, because I guarantee you, if you got on Gretchen's content for 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
and wrote 4 lines on every post that she had and showed that you were into it, you read it, you could repeat something from it. And after 2 weeks at Gretchen, I just love interacting with you. I think your stuff is great. Can we have a call? Right now you're coming on at minimum as a fan, hopefully as an equal. And in maybe some ways, someone says, boy, I'm so glad that you've been commenting and I like who you are. Sure, let's have a call. And you see, now you've got a stair-step strategy that you're never going to be absolute at the beginning. You don't want a yes, no when you first meet somebody.
And the other thing too is to remember, especially when you're, if when we're talking about LinkedIn, Mike, I see your follow-up comment there, is that, when you're a job seeker or you're opening a business or you're whatever, and you're looking to grow and receive from somebody else, whether it's business or referral or whatever it is, you need to think of LinkedIn as a search engine. What are people looking for, and how are you a match for it? How do you want to be found? So that's the other thing. And then the other thing too, and this is just human nature. Nobody cares about what I know. Actually, you don't. You don't care about what I know. You don't care about what I've done. What you care about is what I might be able to do for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what employers want too. There's a job posting out there that says requirements, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, they want to know what you can do for them, not what you've done for other people or other places or for yourself. They want to know what you can do for them. So how are you the answer for their problem? Personalize it for them. Show them how you're the answer. And again, that's not something a lot of people want to hear, but at the end of the day, that's what matters. Nobody comes to me ever and says, talk to me about your time getting that certification. I want to know all about it. No, nobody comes to me and says, tell me all about when you built that team and you ran, your own department at that company. Nope. What they want to know is, here's my problem. What can you do for me? That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
how are you the answer for their problem? That's what you got to
and
go
I
for.
think that brings to mind being relevant and present today. Your profile should show what you're into today for other people, right? It's not what you did or what you want to do, is what can you deliver on? I mean, if someone says, I want to buy what you got today, sign me up. Can you? Do you have something that says, sure, I got a plan for you, I got a price for you, I got something you can subscribe to, you can go online, I mean, whatever it is. But if someone says, okay, I'm ready to go with you, well, let's talk about what you need, let's see what I got, let's put it together. You're making someone close the deal for you, right? And here's the other secret: you have to be better than most or all to get attention. And how you approach something is how they're going to think you're going to represent them and serve them, right? I know when I did interviews, when people couldn't look me in the eye, came late, didn't clean up a little, I said, if they can't show up for themselves, how are they going to show up for this company or myself? Because they're showing me how they represent themselves and what their priorities are. So it's really a lot of it, because it is superficial.
But I think it's important. And again, it goes to the topic of the show, sharing. What are you sharing? Right. And if you're sharing something, again, how are you what they want to receive? And so if you're talking from an employer standpoint, there's a financial bottom line that's going to be associated with all of that. And so just, reframe it and reposition yourself to be the answer that they are looking for. Right. What are they looking for? Every job posting is a big, giant question. We have this need. Can you answer it? Can you fill our need? Your resume or your LinkedIn profile or the combination of both are the answer. You either can or you can't. And there are ways that you can, do that. And of course, everybody knows about optimization, whatnot, but there are strategies that you can use to do that. But if you look at it that way, what question are you the answer for them? How does your experience, how is it relevant for them? Not in general for the world or, 20,000, awards and all that. Cool. What does that have to do with me? That at the end of the day, it's not what everybody wants to hear, but that's what matters. Everybody wants to know, again, what can you do for me? Help me. I have a need. If I'm going to work for you, or I'm going to hire you, how are you going to fill my need? That's what they want to know.
Yeah, and it really comes down to what can you do now? Doesn't matter what you learned, didn't matter what you did before. It's like, what do you have to bring today to the marketplace? Because yesterday is gone, right? And that's what people want to know. Are you present?
Mm-hmm.
And do you bring presence? And that can be viewed as, how's your attitude? How's your personality? How do you respond to things? And if everybody's, when you're depending on somebody, you have an obligation to show a lot more respect, right? When they're providing for you, they deserve that. And that's what will keep them happy with you. But if it's always like 50-50, let's make sure everybody's doing their share. And, also the question is, how much harder could have someone worked? Because, if I needed or wanted to be in a company with certain people, I'd research the company.
You have to.
Right. I put another couple paragraphs into something that says, hey, because you're right, Gretchen, they don't care about you, but if you care about them, they'll care more about you to say, okay, go ahead.
But it's just understanding that basic human fundamental dynamic, which is any two people, we have a need from each other. We want to know how you're going to help fill mine, answer mine, contribute to mine. Everybody has that. If you're a job seeker, that's the perspective you have. Okay, employer, how are you going to fill mine? You're going to hit my salary requirement. You're going to give me the days off I want. I want to be 100% remote. So are you going to do that? You want to know how they're going to fill yours. It's not wrong for them to have the same perspective on the other side of that table. Now you have to find that really good, rich, fertile common ground in the middle. But you have to be able to answer each other's questions or you're not a match. To Mike, if they didn't have any cash deals, they're not a match for you anyway. So they can go in the not a match bucket. But again, when you're on LinkedIn and you see an opportunity that you're like, I could do that. That's pretty good. Anne's getting offers all the time because she meets the requirements. Cool. If she decided, okay, I want to investigate one, look that company up, get to know them. On LinkedIn, you can find the people who work there, get to know them, start connecting with them, look at their posts. What do they talk about? What's going on? What's happening in the company? What are they sharing? What's the news about the company? Like, you can know all these things. You can go on Glassdoor. You can know all, interview questions based on position, right? That other people have shared because Glassdoor asks you that and then publishes it. So you can know all of this ahead of time so you don't get yourself in a situation that you might be disappointed in because the expectation was here, but the reality was here, and there's all the space in the middle for research and knowledge that may not have happened. And again, that's not a failure. That's a great opportunity to know, you know what, next time I'm going to go and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that research. I'm going to check that stuff out. So this is a situation, this is an experience that I didn't like. I don't want that again. I'm going to use this experience to make the next one better. That ain't failure. That's success. That's how you get to success. That's important. That's another reason why that sharing is so important. What did you go through? Glassdoor, they share that information. LinkedIn shares information all the time. It's there for you and you can know it. It's just a matter of kind of, peeling it back and getting into it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is if you're getting affected by either rejection or people who aren't even paying attention to you, then the more activity you have, the less any one thing means, right? If you had 100 things out there and you were expecting something, maybe one or two rejection, well, I can only take one position or two anyways, right? So you want them to have the opportunity. Did you ever take a poll of one person and then use that poll, to say, well, I took a poll and this is what everybody should think? No, because you're letting early results, and the more you do, the more feedback you get. I'll tell you a quick story. When I started my first business, I had no money. I just got married. All we had was a paid up Buick. It took me 5 banks to borrow 10 grand on it for my business and sign away everything I had possibly. And it was only because the first 4 times I got turned down, I wasn't qualified. Mm-hmm. And all I asked every time is, what was it that wasn't there that I could have got this loan? And they would always point out, well, this and this, and you didn't go into that. And every presentation, I kept including the advice from the rejection. By the time the 5th one, I had all my answers in place. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know. It wasn't like I monkeyed up the numbers or something, and did something. I just wasn't aware. That's what bankers look for. Mm-hmm. They want an understanding of this and that and this and that. When I had it prepared, where all they could do is look at it and say, this qualifies. And that was the difference in getting that loan. And if I would have just taken the first rejection or two, or never asked the question is, where am I lacking? Yeah. They wouldn't have been able to give it to me. So I think Gretchen makes a great point. Is you've got so many people on the right side. I want to recognize Melissa Houston. It's always great to see her. Ann Levy, Lillian Howard. These are just wonderful people who this is a golden opportunity because Gretchen will vouch for them. I'll vouch for them. They're pre-qualified and vetted. Yeah. That if you have an opportunity to see an alignment, a connection, you take advantage of it. Right. Yes. Learn, and that's the thing about sharing. The best sharing is someone sharing their experience that you don't have to go through to get the same input, because then it makes that person's experience even more valuable, knowing, hey, I saved somebody something, some grief, some ignorance towards the situation, and now they're aware. And then what it also does is it models for you to do it, right? As
Yes.
you start accepting things, you got to start moving things out to keep accepting things. It's like if you're playing dodgeball, you got to throw the ball as soon as someone throws it at you. You can't just sit with it
Yeah.
and take it home and come back. So anyways, we're nearing top of the hour. We got a few more thoughts and questions. Gretchen, what did you think about the topic sharing and the audience today?
No, I love it. I love it. I think Valerie is right. You know, it's an old saying, but sharing is caring. I think that, you know, share what you know, share what you have, share your experience, share your needs, you know, what you know, your all of that. It's very important because nothing happens in a vacuum. It just
Mhm.
doesn't, you know. So yes, sharing in every way is really important. Just make sure, you know, when you do it, you know, think about the grander picture that you're going for. But absolutely share your story, whatever it is. Everybody is amazing, and I don't say that lightly. Share your story. Somebody needs to hear it.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind that because I tell everybody nobody's story is more important than anybody else's story. Your
Yep.
story is your life,
Yep.
and everybody's life has value,
Yep.
and everybody should be supportive of everybody's story because there's nobody who hasn't gone through challenges, who hasn't gone through victories, haven't had the funniest, the greatest moments of their life that have already are already in the book that no one can take away, no one can change.
Hmm.
And you know, I think the key to sharing is sharing with yourself, giving you a good portion
Yeah.
of your victory. Like Gretchen mentioned earlier, celebrate. Celebrations bring recognition to yourself. You know, they say the number one element that keeps people loyal and dedicated to their jobs is recognition, not money. Being you know, they say praise in public, criticize in private, you know. And when you get someone who vouches for you, you know, a colleague, a boss, whoever they are, and really sincerely talks to you the way we're trying to have other people talk to other people, say, I really believe in you. I really, you know, am there for you, and I think you're just so great. And you know what happens? You come home to your family and you repeat the whole thing, right?
Hmm.
To your parents or to your spouse or whatever. And all of a sudden that ripples. And
Yep.
now you want more of that, right? You enjoyed it and people applauded you. You get a raise and that's all great, but it gets spent real quick and then it becomes an entitlement, you know. But recognition never kind of wears out. So, you know, I think in conclusion, the more you share, the more you'll receive. It may not be in the same way, in the same time frame, or in the same manner, but just knowing that so many people are better for you being in their lives
Hmm.
is reward in itself. And you know, everybody either out of greed or obligation or gratitude will want to return the favor to keep it going and maybe build on it. And you never know where something can go if you've
Yeah.
never been there. So with that said, uh, want to just say, Melissa, you're welcome. Valerie, Lillian says it's funny because I just said that. Yes, sharing is caring. Well, let's take that thought with us today. I know it's top of the hour, a little bit beyond. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Tomorrow we have Andrea here, and she's always great, has an inspirational story, and it just continues. So, Gretchen, thank you so much.
Thanks for having
Always
me.
such a delight. You always brighten the room you're in, and you really inspire so many people to do better. So can't be more grateful.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. With that, bye for now. See you in about 23 hours.